odds market.
I'm Daly Special.
This is Theo Goodman.
All the tools to be among that few that win.
I'm Stuart from Tipster HQ.
My name's Jay Baglia.
Taking the best price in the market.
Hey guys, Xavier.
Some call it gambling.
Here to bring you the best political betting tips.
It's the booming industry of professional gaming.
Odds Market, Sports Bet Daily.
Bankroll management over at Odds Market.
Oddsmarket.com. We are Oddsmarket.
Watch us.
Hello guys and welcome to Sports Bet Daily, the brand new show over at oddsmarket.com. Each day we will be bringing you the best tips across all sports from the best tipsters in the industry. And I'm very excited. We are starting with the Premier League. Now each Monday we're going to recap the Premier League, look at what's happened and take a look at the early odds. This is an article that Martin Green has been giving us over at Odds Market, where you can find a list of all the sports predictions and tips daily. So please go check that out, oddsmarket.com. We are a sister site of SBR and this is our new home here. But first of all, let me introduce Martin W. Green. Not that he really needs an introduction. A man who pretty much knows all sports, but is killing it once again in the Premier League and our best bet show that we have at SBR. Martin, how are you doing? How was the weekend? And welcome to our new show.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks. Excited to be part of this new show and just looking forward to Odds Market taking over the world in 2019 and beyond.
Absolutely. And it's just, we've been able to, and you guys watching will meet all of our wonderful guests at some point. In today's show, we're covering, obviously, Premier League. We're taking a look at the week 32 odds. We move on to darts week 8. Then we've got the final week Miami Open with Whale Kappa, and then finally some MLB futures with Dave LA. So that's what's in today's show, and each day different sports and all very exciting. Now, obviously, we've had the international break. We've had some international matches going on. So we really do need a recap here. Obviously, there was 5 games that we had, and I have to say one of the most notable losses came in the form of Chelsea at Everton. Now, obviously, they failed to score. I was predicting the unders. It seems to sort of be following trend. They're now in 6th place. I don't think they're going to drop any lower. Wolves are quite a few points below them. Is there something wrong with in-camp Chelsea?
I think they're struggling due to Maurizio Sarri's tactics, really. He's been playing Jorginho at the base of midfield and putting N'Golo Kante out wide, which is a terrible idea, really, because Kante is the best holding midfielder in the world. And that's just thrown the balance of the team apart. They've been really topsy-turvy with their form this season. They did sort of pull it back and they were putting together a string of decent results. But that defeat against Everton was a very poor result for them. And it leaves their hopes of getting into the top 4 in tatters, which could be terrible news for Chelsea, what with needing to qualify for the Champions League next season.
Absolutely. I don't know if you watched the match. Quite a few of us had some money on West Ham Huddersfield. It was looking like Huddersfield was going to do the number. I thought, oh goodness, I'm going to hear from one of our viewers, John Smith, a big Huddersfield supporter fan there. I thought, I'm not going to hear the end of it. I had West Ham and the over 1.5 goals and West Ham -1. Luckily, that -1 was a push. The West Ham and the over 1.5 goals. What was happening with Huddersfield there? It's a little bit too late really now.
Too little, too late, I'm afraid. You must have been delighted with the impact off the bench of Chicharito with his 2 goals right at the death there. I think it was more a case of West Ham's poor defending. They're looking pretty dreadful at set pieces, but they did have just about enough about them to overwhelm Huddersfield going forward and pick up that 4-3 win. Still think it's going to be a long old end to the season for Huddersfield, and West Ham should be about comfortable mid-table, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, West Ham play Everton next week on Saturday. Very close on the outrights here. Something like, based on their sort of poor form, both teams to score kind of looks a little tempting.
Yeah, I would say so. Both teams are pretty good going forward, whereas both teams struggle at the back, particularly West Ham. They've been leaking goals all season, but the likes of Felipe Anderson, Javier Hernandez going forward should be able to hurt them. That's probably not my favourite of the upcoming games, but there is value there, I would say.
Yeah, well, I have read your article, Martin, and I'm going to guess that Leicester hosting Bournemouth is one of your favourites. And I have to say, from your article, the odds have really not moved. I think 1.83. It's actually gone to 1.85 for Leicester against a poor road team.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see that. I would have thought more people would be backing Leicester, and I would probably suggest getting on them sooner rather than later because things aren't looking great for Bournemouth, to be honest. They're very poor on the road recently. They're in bad form. They've only won one of their last 6 games, and they have one of the worst away records in the league this season. They've also just suffered an injury to Andrew Sermon during the international break. They're already without captain Simon Francis. He suffered a knee injury back in December. So they've lost another senior figure. Lewis Cook and Dan Gosling are out. So it's a really depleted, banged up Bournemouth team that's going to be coming to Leicester for this game. Brendan Rodgers has galvanised the Foxes a little bit, and they're on a pretty good run of form. 1-2 on the bounce, and they've got a cleaner bill of health. So at the Vitality, away from the Vitality, I think Bournemouth are struggling, and at the King Power, Leicester really should get the win there, and I think 1.85 looks like a very attractive set of odds.
Yeah, is that your favourite bet? You said obviously with the West Ham Everton wasn't your favourite. Is that one of your favourite, or do you have something else up your sleeve?
I like the look of that one. I do like Crystal Palace to beat Huddersfield. I know the odds aren't amazing at 1.51, but I think that's a very good one to add to any accumulators or parlays you're looking at. Crystal Palace aren't in great form, but with Zaha and Batshuayi up front, they should be able to take apart Huddersfield, who are heading for the Championship with a bit of a whimper. Brighton v Southampton, I would say, looks a bit too tough to call. The big mismatch is Fulham versus Man City, but very difficult to get much value there. Again, I don't think there's a great deal of value on Liverpool to beat Tottenham, what with Spurs being a pretty good team. You might actually look at giving Spurs a plus handicap there. I do like Arsenal, I have to say. I know there's always a bit risky backing my team there. But at the Emirates this season, they have been pretty impeccable. 13 wins out of 16, excellent form in North London. Newcastle are a decent team, but I don't think they're going to be able to live with Arsenal for too long in that one. So the classic home win and the under 4.5 goals looks quite attractive there at 1.8. Newcastle are quite a stubborn side defensively, and I don't think they'll get slaughtered. But that is a game that Arsenal really should be winning.
Yeah, right. Flash, one of our contributors, he always says that Monday night on the telly is you see goals. You know, they're performing in front because they know they're on the television. Arsenal is known for their leaky defence. Is this sort of a classic time to play that Alex classic bet? Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. I'm wondering whether I haven't looked at the odds yet, but something like Arsenal in the over 2.5 goals, Arsenal and both teams to score, Arsenal and over 1.5 goals. If there, I've just got the odds here just to see if there is any value in that at all. Do you think there's going to be more on the goals front, just knowing how leaky Arsenal's defence is, or can be?
Perhaps. Yeah, it can be. Arsenal do have a leaky defence, but I would caution that by reminding everyone that Arsenal did beat Man United 2-0 in their last home game, and they kept the likes of Romelu Lukaku quiet. So they might have a chance of keeping a clean sheet against Newcastle. They also beat Stade Rennais 3-0 in their home game after that. So, yeah, I think that is one way of playing it. It just looks a bit... It looks a bit tricky with Newcastle. They like to sit back. They like to soak up pressure. It's probably not going to be my approach for this one. I think Arsenal in the under 4.5 looks good, or maybe Arsenal half-time, full-time. It's always a bit difficult coming after an international break because teams have had their momentum derailed a little bit. They're not always as fresh as they can be. They often pick up injuries. They've often been travelling a lot. So you do see some slightly sluggish performances and often some freak results after an international break. So it might be worth keeping your stakes a little bit lower for this round of fixtures than you normally would play them, and approaching it with a little bit of caution. But that extra rest period could well play into Arsenal's hands there. Monday night, they really need a win. Chelsea and Spurs would have played by then, and it'll be up to Arsenal to make up ground in the race for the top 4. And I can see them beating Newcastle there.
Yeah, incredibly sound advice there. Always after international breaks, tread carefully, bring down your units there just for the first week to see how they come back after the break. Arsenal and over 1.5 goals is 1.61. We will be going through each match in detail on the Premier League Punters show at SBR on Wednesday. So please do join us for that.